Okay, so we will start. Om Badram Karne Bishuniyama Devaha Badram Pashe Makshaviryajatraha Sthirairangai Tuštuvagum Sastanubihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swastina Indro Vruddhashavaha Swastina Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti Nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspati Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. So we saw two mantras last week, mantra 5 and 6 in the Mundakopanishad, third Mundaka, and the second Kanda in that, the second section of the third Mundaka. As I was telling, we have almost reached the end of the Upanishad teaching, and as I was saying, basically it is some amount of final messages, some kind of instructions, all that. And now in the next few mantras, the Upanishad closes the discussion by saying what happens to the jnani. So far, the discussion has been why do we need to go through the jnana marga. Then, of course, there were discussions on how do we do the meditation, where do we look for the Brahman. All that discussions are going on. And there were also some discussions about what happens to the jnani in terms of, vidyate hriday grantihi, chidyante sarva, asya samshayaha, shiyante sarva karmani, like that. That his doubts, his chid jata granthi will all loosen up. All his doubts will just recede to the background. Like that, we saw also a few mantras. It also said how he will radiate with light and all that. Natatra suryo bhatina chanda tarakam nema vidyuto bhantam kuto yamagnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya vasa sarvamitam vibhati. So all that, what happens to, in terms of the experience, what happens to the jnani, all that we saw. And now, towards the end of the teaching, the Upanishad is also telling what eventually happens to the jnani. Because every one of us go through a process of birth and death. Therefore, asti, there are these 6 stages. Asti, jayate, vardate, it grows, parinamate, it transforms and changes. Sirshyate, it starts deteriorating, and pranashyati, one day it has to perish. So that should happen to the jnani also. So therefore, so what really is the difference then? That is a question. What is the what kind of a thing happens to a jnani when the physical body the gross bodies, the stula sharira, the sukshma sharira, etc., when all of them go through this process of 60 stages of deterioration, etc., leading to final perishing, the question naturally is, what is the difference between Ajnani and Samsari? What really happens to the Jnani? So, the Upanishad has a couple of mantras, which we will see today, where it talks about what really happens to the Jnani after all this happens and the Janma comes to an end, etc. So that is what we will see today. So we'll go for mantra 7. Gata kalaha panchadasha pratishta devascha sarve pratidevatasu karmani vijnanamayascha atma aparevyaye sarve eki bhavanti. Gataha kalaha panchadasha. That sarga, upasarga, the visarga will come when you do a padacheda. So gataha kalaha panchadashaha pratishtaha devascha sarve prati devatasu karmani vijnanamayascha atma apare avyaye sarve eki bhavanti. So what it says, it basically talks about what happens to the Jnani at the time of giving up the body, which will happen, which has to happen. Jatasya dhruva mrityuhu. So therefore, it has to happen. Therefore, the question is, what is happening to these Jnanis? You know, he also has a physical body, the gross body. There is also the Sukshma Sharira, which consists of the Pancha Karmendriyas, the Pancha Jnanendriyas. Then you have Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara, Manas. All those form the Sukshma Sharira. So what happens to the Stula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira? That is the question. So it says, Gataha Kalaha Panchadashaha. So there are 15 Kalas. Here the Upanishad talks about 15 kalas. Actually, we have Shodasa kala, which is 16 kalas. But here the Upanishad talks about only 15 kalas. So we will see why one kala is left out. That we will see later. Kala means constituent. So each one of is made of actually 16 constituents. But here the Upanishad is saying that when the Jnani, gives up the body, the 15 constituents out of the 16, right, Gataha, they are all gone. Then Pratishtaha Devascha. So there are some Devas. So you'll see the meaning of all that. We'll see the details of all that. I am only talking about the literal meaning of the mantra. Pratishtaha devascha. So there are some devatas who are in us. They are all, rested in us. So they are rested in the body of the Jnani also. So sarve, all those devas, what happens? Prati devatasu. They go back to their respective devata. So all the devas who are resident in our body, they also go back to the respective devatas. That is what the first line is saying. Then second line says karmani. So we all have that. Everybody has a karma. We have, we know this agami karma, sanchita karma, and prarabdha karma, and so on. So when a janma is over, what happens is the prarabdha is over, because every one of us take a janma to only consume the prarabdha. So that karma is not an issue. Even for a jnani or a ajnani, When the Janma gets over, the Prarabdha karma are over. In fact, only because the Prarabdha karmas are over, the Janma comes to an end. That is how we have to understand. When will the Janma come to an end? The Janma comes to an end when the Prarabdha karmas are all completely exhausted. So therefore, that karma is not a problem. Whether Jnani or Ajnani, they will anyway get over. The question is about the remaining ones. So, as we know, there are the Sanchita karma, which means the karmas that we have accumulated over a long period of time, over several janmas. So that is called Sanchita karma. And there are karmas which we could have perhaps accumulated during this janma, which becomes futuristic. So that is called Agami karma. Karmas which are yet to be exhausted, that we earned while in this janma. So that is how it is. So for Ajnanis, for the samsaris, what happens is until those karmas are completely exhausted, we have to go through this Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Janani Jatare Shainam. So we have to go through this chakra of life and death, and again birth and death. So this whole birth and death process. But the question is, what happens to the Jnani? So therefore, we will go through this, and depending upon the collection of the karmas, we will gather one set of karma to consume, and in relation to that, that becomes the prarabdha karma, and we take one more janma, and then it goes like that for ajnanis and samsaris like us. So what happens to the jnani? So the point is, for the jnani, moment he or she gets this realization, what happens is the prarabdha karma, you cannot do anything. So that every one of us, including a jnani and an ajnani, have to spend it, and only when the prarabdha actually gets over, the janma comes to an end. Therefore, when the janma comes to an end for the jnani, the prarabdha part is over. But what really happens is, by virtue of this realization, by virtue of this Atma Vidya that a jnani has ultimately got, what happens is both his Agami karma and his Sanchita karma, they are all burnt. Meaning they are all nullified, they are all simply returned back. That's what this is saying. Karmani Atma apare sarve eki bhavanti. They go and merge, which means the karmas no longer are capable of generating the palas for a jnani. The Sanchita karma and the Agami karma cannot initiate any pala. They become impotent. There is no virya in that. So, it is something like this. See, you have a seed. A karma is like a seed. And as long as there is a seed, there is a possibility that it can germinate. Right? At an appropriate time, it will germinate. It will start shooting. Then the tree starts growing. It may generate more seeds. All that can happen. But if the seed is roasted in fire, let us say, just think about this possibility. If the seed is roasted in fire thoroughly, then the seed loses its capability to germinate any further. It is incapable of germinating any further. So that is what is the equivalent of Jnani's Agami and Sanchita karmas. They are all gone. They have no potency to manifest anymore. Therefore, that is what it means by saying Karmani Atma Apare Abhyaye Sarve Eki Bhavanti. In fact, in Bhagavad Gita, that is why it says Jnanagni Takta Karmaha Tamaguhu Panditam Budaha. There is one shloka in chapter 4. So Jnanagni Dagdaha. this whole jnana of Atma Vidya that Jnani has obtained, that Agni Dagda Karmaha, it actually burns out all the Sanchita and the Agami karmas. So that is the point that this Upanishad is making. Therefore, Karmani Atma Apare Avyaye Vijnanamayascha. So Vijnanamaya actually means, it actually indicates the Sukshma Sharira and the Stula Sharira. Actually, it indicates those. That power of consciousness, that power of intellect, that power of reflection that we carry, which is nothing but an indication of one's Sukshma Sharira and the Stula Sharira and etc. all that. So all of them, Apare Atma Avyaye Eki Bhavanti, they all merge. They all merge into that Aparaha Avyayaha, that the highest. It's beyond everything. It merges into that Avyaya also. It is imperishable. So all of these merge into that. So here there are two things which we need to understand. The first thing is, what is this Kala? If there are Shodasa Kala, why it is talking about the Panchadasha Kala? What happened to the last one? It's because generally there are 16 Kalas. Now these 16 Kalas, what are these 16 Kalas? What is the meaning of that? All these are available in Prashnopanishad. In the last chapter of the Prashnopanishad, there is this discussion about the Shodasa Kala. So if we go to Prashnopanishad, which we will do now, we will get a sense of these, what are these Kalas and why 15 out of the 16 merge. That's what it is saying. So as I told you, Kala is like a certain constituent of an individual, a certain, I would say, ingredient or a constituent, something like that we can say. So let us look at Prashnopanishad to understand this a little bit. So in chapter 6, as we know, Prashnopanishad is 6 chapters. Basically 6 Sishyas, and each Sishya asks a question to the Guru Pipalada. And in response to the Sishya's question, the Guru gives an answer. That's how each chapter is organized. So the Shodasa Kalas are coming in the 6th chapter of Prashnopanishad. So let us see what it says. So this is how it goes. Atahainam Sukesha Bharatvaja Pracha Bhagavan Hiranyanabaha Kausalyo Rajaputro Mam Upetyaitam Prashnama Prachata Shodashakalam Bharadvaja Purusham Veta Tamaham Kumaram Abruvam Nahamimam Veda. So it says Tasmai Saho Vacha Ihevanta Sharire. So that is the answer. So now the point is Ata Hayenam Sukeshaha Bharadvajaha. The 6th disciple's name is Bharadvaja. Sukesha Bharadvaja. Papracha. He asked. Bhagavan Hiranyanabaha Kausalyaha Rajaputraha. So there is this prince Kausalyo Rajaputraha, the prince of Kosala kingdom. Kosalasya Rajaputraha, Kausalya Rajaputraha. So Kausalyaha Rajaputraha, the prince of Kosala, by name Hiranyanabaha. Hey Bhagavan, he is telling to the Guru, hey Bhagavan, Hiranyanabaha, who is the Rajaputra of Kosala, Kausalyo Rajaputraha, Mam Upetya, having approached me. Upetya is coming up to me or approaching me. That's what it is. Etam prashnam aprchata. He asked this question. And what is the question? Shodasa kalam. I mean, there is a typo here. Kalam, not kalam. Shodasa kalam Bharadwaja Purusham Veta. Hey Bharadwaja, do you know the 16 kalas that belong to, that is attributed to a Purusha? So, Shodasa kalam Purusham Veta Bharadwaja. So, that was the question he asked. Then this Bharadwaja told that Hiranyanabha, Tam Aham Kumaram, that boy who asked this question, Abruvam, I told, Na Aham Imam Veda, I do not know what you are asking. I do not know what is this 16 kalas that you are talking about. So that is what he recalls. Then there is some conversation. I removed that mantra from Prashnopanishad because that is not required here. So basically, moment he said that, so he now is asking Pipalada in Vishnopanishad as a last question, can you please tell me what is that? So that is how the whole thing comes. So now Pipalada starts answering. Tasmai saho vacha ihevanta sharire somya sapurusho yasminnataha shodasakalaha prabhavantiti. Tasmai saha hovacha. To him he said. What did he say? Ihevanta sharire. In this sharira, in this body that we all possess, saha purushaha yasminataha shodasakalaha prabhavantiti. So in this body that of ours, that these shodasa kalas, these 16 kalas, prabhavantiti, they manifest, they show up, they exist, all that we can say. Sa iksha chakre kasmin aham ukranto bhavishyami kasmin va pratishtite pratishtasyamiti. So he said, Kasmin aham utkranto bhavishyati. Kasmin va pratishtisyamiti. It is that when it goes out of the body, everything goes. The Paramatma, the Jiva, when the Purusha goes, Kasmin va pratishtisyamiti. So when it is there, everything is also there. So in a way, it is related to the existence in this world, in the form of a body and all that. When we are there, that because of those 16 kalas only, we are able to understand that Purusha is there in this particular thing. So moment it goes, the Purusha also goes. That's how it says. Kasmin utkrantaha utkranto bhavishyati. Kasmin va pratishtite pratishtisyamiti. If it is there, it will be there. It will be there. The kalas are gone, the Purusha will also go. So that's what the third mantra is. Then it says, Sapranam asrijata prana shraddam kam vayir jyotirapah prithivindriyam manaha annamanna dviryam tapo mantrah karma lokah lokeshu janamacha. So what are these 16 kalas now? That is told in the fourth mantra. So what are that? It says Sapranam asrijata. First it is the prana, the vital force. Pranat shraddam. The vital force must be there. Then there is this constituent that we all have, what is called shraddha. See, we may have shraddha and different things. But the fact remains that all of us have shraddha. That is the point here. Because for anything to achieve in the life, we need shraddha. That's why Shraddha Kamasya Mataram. Shraddha is the mother of desire. So the second constituent of this body, when it exists, the Purusha indeed exists. is called Shraddha. That's what it says. That comes out of prana. Pranat Shraddham. Then what happens? Kam Vayu Jyotirapa Prithivi. The five Mahabhutas come, which is the space, Vayuhu, which is the the gaseous thing, our prana, Ushvasa, Ishvasa, the breathing in, breathing out, that Vayu. So Vayuhu, Jyotihi. Each one of us radiate light as long as we are alive. There is this spark in us. Jyotihi, Apaha, which is the various liquid systems that we have. Then Prithivi. So we have five of them here. So Pranaha, Shraddham is the third component. Then five of these Indriyas, which makes it 8. Manaha, Manas is a super Indriya. When Indriyas are there, Manas will also be there. Manas will start controlling the Indriyas and then taking it the way it wants. So Manaha, so that make it 9. So Prana, Shraddha, 2, 5 Mahabhutas, 2 plus 5, 7. Then the 5 Indriyas makes the 8th component. Then Manaha, which is the 9th component. All these are required. Then Annam, there is this constituent called food. Because if we don't eat food, we may starve of death. Minimum food is taking some water, having a little bit of little milk or something at least we should have, or some good Mrishtanna Bhojanam, all those, whatever it is. So Annam, so the next constituent of life, next constituent which ensures that the prana is, the Atma is in us, it is Annam. Why? Because Annat Viryam, the vitality comes only when we eat food. Food nourishes us and gives us that vitality. So Annat Viryam. And why do you need Viryam? Only out of that vitality, that force of vitality which exhibits in us, we can really have tapas, a steadfast focus on something. So that is the tapas. So that is the next constituent which shows that the Atma is in us, the Purusha is in us. Tapaha, then mantraha. So 9th is Annam, Viryam is 10th, mantraha. The mantras which are realizations out of deep contemplation which we have, that is mantraha. Then karma, then we endowed with all these. See, we have the Pancha Pranas, Pancha Karmendriyas, Pancha Jnanendriyas, then we have the Indriya Gochara, then we have the Manas, then we eat food out of which we get the Virya, and we can focus, we can develop tapas, and then focus and contemplate on mantras. And with all that, we can engage in with all these, we can engage in various karmas. So that is the next constituent of evidence of Purusha in us is karma. And because of that, we get the lokaha. Because the moment we do karma, it is done in the context of the worlds. Iha and apara. Some of them, the fruits, the karma leads to fruits. The karma palas happen either in this world or the world, in the other world, and so on. Iha, mutra, pala, and all that. So lokaha. So lokeshu cha namacha. So there is also a name attached to that person. That person is known for something. There is a name which remains of that person, and so on. So these are the 16 kalas, which which are the constituents which make sure that the Purusha is in us. This is true of every one of us. Now Mundakopanishad says the 15 kalas go back. So the question is, which are the 15 kalas? So the point is, everything other than nama will go back. Nama cannot be taken out. A particular Vyakti is associated with a name, even if that Vyakti is no more. We still talk about, Indira Gandhi, or we still talk about Mahatma Gandhi, Nehru, or, anybody who lived also, their name remains. So that constituent alone cannot be taken out. Therefore, because of this, the Mundakopanishad says, Gataha Kalaha Panchadashaha, not 16. It is only the 15 kalas which are gone. The name, even after we leave this world, our name stays here for right or wrong reason. That's not the point. The point is the name remains here. That's why Mundakopanishad says, Panchadasha Kalaha, not Shodasa Kalaha, because the last kala is Nama. That constituent, while that person may not be there, that name will remain. We talk about Tyagaraja, 17th century, after 400 years, we talk about Tyagaraja. 350, 370 years, we talk about Tyagaraja. The name remains. Even after 2500 years, we talk about Buddha. We talk about Rama and Krishna, they are all 5000 plus years. All that happens. Therefore, that's why out of this list of these 16 kalas, the last kala, namely the Nama, will remain. That cannot be taken out. That will always remain. That's why Panchadashaha Kalaha Gataha. That's what this particular Panchadasha Kala is about. Then there is this mantra, Pratishta Devasta Sarve Prati Devatasu. So what is this Deva? See, the point is, every part of our body, there is a Devata. For example, if you take the eyes, the presiding deity for the eyes is Surya. So as long as Surya Bhagavan is with us, as long as Surya Bhagavan is blessing us, then we will be able to see. If you don't have the blessing, you will find that, will not be able to see. If the Devata called Sun is not with us, well, we won't be able to see. So like this, every part of our Karmendriya and the Jnanendriyas and the Antakaranas, there is a presiding deity. That's why, in Mahanyasa mantra, they say Agnirme Vachishitaha. So the Vak Devata is Agni. Or sometimes they say Saraswati. Agnirme, there are different ways it is being said. So in Lagunyasa, when we say Agnirme Vachishitaha, Va Hridaye, Hridayam Mayi, Aham Amrite, Amrita Brahmani, Suryo Me Sakshushishritaha. So the presiding deity of the through two eyes are sun. So the sun is coming and sitting there. Chandrama Me Manaso Shritaha Mano Hridaye. So the presiding deity of Manas, which is an Antakarana. So the presiding deity of Manas is actually Moon. Moon is the presiding deity of Manas. The presiding deity of Ahankara is Rudra. Okay. So, and the presiding deity of memory, Chitta, right, is actually Vishnu. And the presiding deity of Buddhi is Brahma. Like that, there are presiding deities. So, if you look at Tattva Bodha, Shankaracharya's Tattva Bodha, which is a very primer for Vedanta. If somebody wants to read Vedanta text, I think first they should read Tattva Bodha. It's a simple text. There are questions and for which Shankaracharya answers. So it is the 101 of Vedanta, the LKG of Vedanta, so to say. Somebody wants to read Vedanta, they should actually start reading Tattva Bodha because all these ideas are laid out there. So we look at Tattva Bodha. Let me take some mantras from Tattva Bodha where all these are there. So look at here. For example, this mantra says, Shrotram Chakshus Rasana Granam Inti Iti Pancha Jnanendriyani. So we know the 5 Jnanendriyas. The hearing, the feeling, right? Then the seeing, Chakshu is the seeing. The Rasana, the taste, which is in the tongue. Then Granam, the smell, which is in the nose. Iti Pancha Jnanendriyani. So these are the 5 Jnanendriyas. But then Tattva Buddha also says who are the presiding deities of that. So it says, Shrotrasya Dig Devata. For the ear, the presiding deity is the Dig Devata, the space and the directions. Why? It is not too difficult to understand. Why? Because, without the directions, without the ether and the space, sound will not travel. So the Shravana Shakti is not there. So the Shravana Shakti is given to us only because of existence of the space and ether. That is why Shrotrasya Devata is Dig Devata. Tvacho Vayuhu, for this skin or this Sparshana Shakti is because of when the wind blows, we feel it. Only because the wind flows, we feel our existence. There is this feeling in our thing and so on. So the presiding deity of Tvak is Vayu. Chakshushaha Suryaha, I already told you, the presiding deity of the Jnanendriya called I is actually sun. Okay? So Chakshushaha Suryaha, Rasanaya Varunaha. So the presiding deity of taste. So if somebody lost the taste, somebody's taste buds, we say taste bud is gone. That's how we use the word. If you want to use ancient Indian knowledge and say, you should not say the taste bud is gone. What we should say is the Varuna Bhagavan is gone. Because unless the Varuna Bhagavan sits on our tongue, we will not enjoy taste. Because he is the presiding deity. In the same way, if the Surya Bhagavan is not there in our eyes, we will lose the power of sight. So a blind man essentially means the Surya Devata did not come. The Surya Devata decided not to come and reside in us. That's why some people are blind. And, Granasya Shvinau. So the smelling, that power of smelling that we get is because of Ashwino, Ashwini Devata, both of them. So those are the presiding deities. Then it says, Vak Pani Pada Payupasthaniti Panchakarmendriyani. Vak, the speaking, your ability to speak. Right? Panihi, which is the upper limbs, the hand. Pada is the lower limbs. Payu, right? Payu is the genital, and upastha is the and the upastha is the genital. I think the payu is the excretory karma, that karmendriya. So pancha karmendriyani vacho devata vannihi. That's why we said Agnirme Vasti Shritaha. The presiding devata of the the speech is Agni. That means if you lost your Agni, speech will not come. Okay. So Vacho Devata Vannihi Hastayor Indraha Indro Mebale Shritaha. That's why we say the bala that we get out of these two hands, that is because of Indra. So if we lost the bala, that means the Indra Devata is gone. That's the meaning. Padayor Vishnuhu. The presiding Devata of the Pada is the Vishnu. Payoho Mrityuhu. So the excretory, the presiding deity of the excretory thing is Mrityu. Upastasya Prajapatihi, the genitals, that is Prajapati. Iti Karmendriya Devataha. So there are devatas for our Pancha Karmendriyas. There are devatas for our Pancha Jnanendriyas. So when this mantra says, Pratishtaha Devasa Sarve Pratidevatasu. So what it says is, when the Jnani drops the body. But that is true. The first line is true for all of us. Now, whether jnani or ajnani, the first line is true. When we drop our body, gataha kalaha panchadashaha, that's what will happen for jnani and as well as for us. In the same way, when we drop the body or when the jnani drops the body, pratishtita devasta sarve pratidevatasu. So when you say somebody is dead, what we actually mean is that, even the death process happens, like particularly the natural death, old age people sometimes, they have a natural death. If you look at the natural death, slowly the indriyas are gone. They first lose their Shravana Shakti. Then they lose their, ability to see. They lose the ability to speak. So Shravana Shakti will go, then Vak Shakti will go. When Vak Shakti goes, that means Agni is gone. Then, you cannot see. That will go. So that's how the devatas are withdrawing. That is the process of death, in a way when we drop the body. Jnani or Ajnani, that is what it is. But as I told, in the second line, as we see, what really happens is, for the Jnani, the karmas are gone. For us, the karmas don't merge. Karmas are in hibernation. They are all in hibernation. So when we take the next Janma, all the karmas, because they have the capability to sprout. So that is the only difference between us and the Jnani. Whereas in the case of Jnani, as this mantra says, Karmani Atma Apare Avyaye Eki Bhavanti. It all merges into that imperishable, that ultimate one. So therefore, that is the only difference. So that is what this mantra is saying, that all these karmas are gone. All the body is gone. So the three bodies, the Vijnanamaya is the three shariras. The Stula Sharira merges into Virat. That's what happens. Whether you consign it to the flames, whether you put it in a box, or whether you, as the Jewish practice is, they throw it onto the Tower of Silence or whatever. Whatever you do, the Stula Sharira goes back to that presiding deity called Virat or Annam, whatever you call it. It goes there. The Sukshma Sharira gets into Hiranyagarbha because it came from there. The Devata is Hiranyagarbha. So it goes there. The Linga Sharira, which is the Karana Sharira, which is no longer required and so on for a Jnani, it gets into the Antaryami. So all of them merge. But for us, the Stula Sharira and the Sukshma Sharira may go to Virat and Hiranyagarbha, but the Karana Sharira does not get merged. The Karana Sharira remains. And why it remains? Because there is karmas which are remaining. Those karmas have to be, consumed. Therefore, it remains. All these happens for a jnani in a different way. That's what this mantra is saying. Then comes the eighth mantra. Yata nadyaha sandhyamana samudre astam gacchanti namarupe vihaya tata vidvanamarupat vimuktaha Parat param purusham-upaiti divyam yada nadyah sandhyamanaah samudre astam gacchanti namarupe vihaya tata vidvan namarupat vimuktah parat param purusham-upaiti divyam. So, in another way, the Upanishad explains what happens to this jnani. It says, yatha, it gives an example. Yatha, just like Nadyaha, the Nadis, the rivers, Syandamanaha, as they keep on flowing, the river keeps on flowing. And why the river keeps on flowing? Because Samudre Astam Gacchanti, they go and merge into the Samudra, into the sea or an ocean, whatever you want to say. Samudre astam gacchanti. That's what it says. Yata, the rivers. Samudre astam gacchanti. And what happens? when they merge into the ocean, they lose their nama and rupa. They lose their identity. Nama rupe vihaya. So their form and their name is gone. Just think about it. You go to West Bengal. If you go to the Sundarbans, the large basin, very huge area, that Sundarban area. What happens there? Two great rivers come and merge into Bay of Bengal there. One river is called Ganges. The another river is called Brahmaputra. Both of them merge into Bay of Bengal in that place. Now, after they merge into Bay of Bengal, where is Ganga and where is Brahmaputra? Nothing. It is called Bay of Bengal. That's all. It is simply called Bay of Bengal. So that's what it says. So that is the example that the Upanishad is giving. Yata nadyaha, the rivers, sendamanaha, flowing and flowing and flowing. Samudre astam gachanti, they go and totally merge into the ocean. And in the process, namarupe vihaya, they just lost their name and their distinct forms. Tata, in the second line, it says, in the same way, Tata, Vidwan, this Jnani, who had this self-realization, who understood this Atma Vidya in an experiential mode. Tata Vidwan, Namarupad Vimukta, so he also liberates himself from Nama and Rupa. Because this Jnani carried a body, a grass body, a Sukma Sharira was there. He also carried a name, right? All that, Nama Rupa Vimukta, he gets released. He was conditioned in that Nama and Rupa. So he gets released out of that. Nama Rupa Vimukta, Parat Param, the ultimate, the highest of the highest of the high. Parat Param Purusham, that ultimate Brahman, Upaiti Divyam Purusham, that supreme divine Purusha, Upaiti. It just goes unto him, unto it, and completely loses its names and forms. So to say that Advaita Bhava, that Eki Bhava, that Jnani, he realizes that oneness, and as long as this body is there, even though he realized the oneness, he was caged. He was conditioned in a small body in the form of Nama and Rupa. But once that body is dropped, once the prarabdha is over and the body is dropped, this Jnani is released out of that conditional entity, and it becomes one. It gets merged into that ultimate one. No, it is like this. You have 5 buildings, one after the other. First building is say a temple, or let's say a school. The second building is a public library. The third building is a hospital. The fourth building is a guest house. Fifth building is an office. So as long as these buildings are like that, they are constrained by the Nama and the Rupa. So you have to call the fifth building as an office, the fourth building as a hospital or whatever. But if you bring a bulldozer and then completely bulldoze all of them and knock all of them flat onto the bhumi, then what happens? That conditioned ultimate reality called Akasha becomes the infinite Akasha. That's the first thing that happens. That conditional state of that infinite nature called Akasha becomes an infinite nature called Akasha once you remove the Nama and Rupa. Second thing that happened only when we removed the Nama and Rupa. We actually, demolished all the buildings. Moment we demolished the building, that, it merged with the ultimate reality. In the same way, also, that's why that Nama Rupa Vimukta, moment this Jnani gets released out of Nama and Rupa, how does he get released? He drops the body. And then Parat Param Purusham Upaiti Divyam. He merges with the Lord. That means he gets Videha Mukti. He gets released. He gets total liberation. He gets that moksha. So that is what these two mantras actually say. What really happens to that Jnani at the end of the Janma. So Jnani gets the Videha Mukta, and that is beautifully explained by this simile of these rivers, and the rivers flowing, Samudre Astam Gachanti Namarupevaha. It uses that simile, and then using that, the Upanishad basically tells that this Jnani is totally released and he becomes one with that infinite Brahman. So he is beyond birth and death, and he becomes merged with the infinite. Becomes merged because the realization is already there. He was only waiting, he or she was waiting for this conditional part to also go. Once the conditional part goes, 100%, it's that. So that is what these mantras are saying. So same thing is available in Prashnopanishad. Immediately after that Shodasakala mantra that you see there, this mantra comes, which means both the Upanishads are saying the same thing, slightly differently. Look at what this is saying. Sayate manadyaha sandhyamanaha samudrayanaha samudram prapsyastam gachanti vidyate tasam namarupe samudra ityevam prochyate. Same simile is coming. Yata ime nadyaha syandamanaha, same words are used. Samudra ayanaha. Ayanaha is, that is a refuge. So they are all running and running and running. Syandamanaha. For what? Samudrayanaha. Samudrameva ayanam. Tasmat tatreva gantavyam iti sada syandamanaha. Samudram prapya astam gachanti. Once it reaches the ocean, it merges. Vidyate tasam namarupe. They break, they destroy their own Nama and Rupa. Samudra ityevam prochate. After that, they are called only Samudra. They are not called Ganges. If you step at the Sundarban basin, moment you step out of that into the Bay of Bengal, you can no longer call it as Ganga or Brahmaputra. It is called Bay of Bengal only. Samudra ityeva prochate. Evam evasya paridrashturima shodashakalaha purushayanaha purusham prapyastam gachanti vidyete chasam namarupe purusha ityevam prochyate sa yesho kalo mrito bhavati tadesha shlokaha. Evam eva, the same way, asya paridrashtuhu imaha Paridrashtuhu imaha shodasakalaha purushayanaha. So the shodasakalas are actually directed towards, these constituents are directed only towards that Purusha, ultimately to reach that Purusha only. Purushayanaha. Purusham prapya astam gachanti. Once it realizes the Purusham, the shodasakalas merge into it. Astam gachanti vidyate cha asam namarupe. Purusha ityevam prochyate. They are known only as that ultimate Purusha. Sa yesho kalo amrito akalo amrito bhavati. There is no longer constituent anymore. The kalas become akala. Yeshaha akalo amrito bhavati. He becomes immortal. Tadesha Shlokaha. Exactly the same idea is coming in the 6th chapter in Prashnopanishad. I thought I wanted to just show this. So the interesting thing here is this. See, when you say that Samudre Astam Gachanti Namarupe Vihaya, it has some serious implications and deep meaning. As you see in this photo also here, what happens? Losing the, so there are a few things happening for the jnani, like that happens for the river. Losing the identity permanently, not temporarily. This identity is lost forever. Please understand. That's why he said, at the place where the river meets the ocean, moment you step into the ocean, a few meters inside that place where it is merging, you cannot locate the river anymore. So a jnani also loses the identity permanently. That's the first implication. Second implication, it is an irreversible process. The merged river cannot be sucked back to form the river once again. That's not possible. What is gone is gone. So when the jnani realizes all these will go and that's it, there is no coming back. That is the second understanding of this simile. Third thing, many different rivers can come to the same ocean. That's why it used the words Nadyaha. It used the plural. Ganga and Brahmaputra become one with Bay of Bengal. So many jivatmas, all the jivatmas at the time of realization, they will merge with one ultimate Brahman. So many different rivers can come to the same ocean. The last implication that we should understand is it is getting back to the source. What is happening? What is the source for the river? The source for the river is ocean. The ocean during summertime, it evaporates and then it, the water vapor goes up, it becomes the clouds. The clouds actually goes to the mountain, it condenses in the mountain, it pours, it forms a river, and then, so it is only coming back to its source. That is also being indicated here. The karya has to inevitably become karana. It is only a matter of time. So this body, the nama, rupa, the jivatma, the stula, sukshma, linga, shariras, all these are karya. The karana is Brahman. So the karya has to inevitably become karana. It's a matter of time. Time can be anahadi, ananta, shatakoti, janma, all those are different, but that is the only thing. That is the only road. So all these are indicated by this nice mantra. Samudre astam gachanti namarupe vihaya tata vidwan namarupaya vihaya purusham upaiti divyam. So that is what this mantra is. I think with this, more or less, there's one more mantra which also tells what happens to the jnani. After that, it is only upasamhara. It's just one mantra to formally close this Upanishad that we will see in the next class. I think with this, we will close today's session. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Krishna Arpanamastu. Harihi Om Shubharatrihi. Happy Dashara for all of you. Let Dashara bring all good things to us and take us to the path of ultimate destination that we are all in. I pray to Durga Lakshmi Saraswati for the goodness of all of us. Thank you.